So, welcome, dear listeners, to another enlightening episodes of Adfar Tech Venture podcast. And today we have the privilege of hosting a true maestro in the world of cybersecurity, none other than Christian Espinosa. So, Christian is not just a founder of a Blue God Cyber; he is also a veteran, best-selling author, captivating keynote speaker, and a survivor of life's challenges. His expertise spans the intricate realms of cyber defense and all about the technologies and train. So today's discussions is promises to unravel the secrets of his success. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Christian Espinosa to Cybersec Chronicles. And Christians, it's honor to have you here today as our guest. So thank you so much for being here with us, and thank you so much for your time and presence. So Christians, before we plunge into this depth of our cybersecurity discussions today, our audience would like to know a bit about yourself personally, because from your LinkedIn bio, I've seen so many of your personal and professional achievements. So could you please take a moment to share a bit about your journey and your experience that inspires and motivate us?
Sure. Thanks for having me on in the nice intro. I am someone that likes to take risk. I used to be in the U.S. military, and I did defense contracting for a while. All of my work has been in cybersecurity. And then I started my first cybersecurity company, which is called Alpine Security, in 2014. I sold that in 2020, and I am currently growing my new cybersecurity company. It's a little over a year old, Blue Goat Cyber. So it's my second company. So the risk I like to take are entrepreneurial risk, but I also like to do things that are risky, like skydiving, scuba diving, climbing mountains, driving fast cars, anything that there's a waiver involved where you have to sign it that says you're not going to sue them if cut your arm off or if you die. I'm kind of attracted to that. And maybe that's why I like cybersecurity, because it's ultimately about reducing risk or managing risk.
So very captivating introductions, and the way you are, leading the personal life, it reflects truly in your professional life too. So your journey is really inspirations for many of the, community professionals and for personal reasons too. So let's dive into the heart of the discussion. So Christians, before we immerse ourselves into today's episodes, I also extend a heartfelt gratitude to our vibrant audience, because for their enthusiasm and the tech patience truly make this journey worthwhile. And because of them, we are here only. So in the next half an hour, we are, going to discuss about the real tech trends in the cybersecurity and the glean valuable insights for tech enthusiasts at all level. So audience, stay tuned and for a very much insightful conversation with today's guest, be that. So before we dwell into the heart of our discussions, let me take a moment to introduce about the sponsor for today's episode. So this episode is created for Adfar Tech Venture podcast, and dear audience, I am your host Sonal Shah. So just a quick few words about the Adfar Tech Venture. So we are IT and tech platform, and we focus on IT solutions, IT resources, recruitments, and tech audio podcasts. And we have a vendor alliances with the 50 plus tech partners. It includes SAP, Oracle, Microsoft, Pega, OutSystems, APN, Salesforce, Cloudera, Informatica, and many other services too. So majority we provide all kind of solutions. It includes ERP, application development, data, AI/ML, blockchain, then cloud managed service, UX UI testing, and the cybersecurity. And major skills which we have is we have 20,000 plus resources all across the skills. So we can deliver both on site as well as offshore within the 24 hours. So that is the major skills we have. And with this podcast, we love the views of CTOs and founders on technology and the leaderships. So similarly, we are also very much impressed with the Christian apps, and we are really keen to learn about his journey and what are the things that making him something different from others. So please, audience, join us welcoming him, and let's start to share, journey with the main of this cybersecurity. So now, as we know about each other, let's not keep, waiting people. So without further ado, let's jump into this discussion, Christina. So, Christina, in this ever-evolving landscape of cybersecurity, can you share insight into the current technologies that you are employed at your organization?
At Blue Goat Cyber, we primarily perform offensive security. We mainly try to break into people's environments to make them more secure, also known as ethical hacking or white hat hacking. So most of our tools are based on offense, and we have two main services. One of them is medical device cybersecurity assessments, and the other one is penetration testing. So with medical device security, which you're trying to secure a device that's used to save somebody's life or sustain their life or to do analysis or surgery. For that, we do lots of different things. A couple tools we use is to assess the security of the software. So we look at the source code, and we use tools to scan the source code to look for coding errors, and then we also test the application while it's running using a dynamic assessment tool and penetration testing. And what's actually more important than the tools is my team's ability to review the source code manually, design test cases, and interpret the results. And with offensive security, there's always tools evolving. So we make sure we keep a pulse on the latest tools and figure out how to integrate that into our test cases.
Right. So, Christians, in line with these questions only, if I would like to know about, how do you adapt the technology based on innovations and risk only, or any specific strategy you adapt for a particular project or for a particular customer? How do you find which technology would go with them?
So it's on a case-by-case basis in what we're trying to test. So if a client, for instance, wants us to test a web application, which is pretty common, we have specific tools we use to test the web application. And we use a combination of open source tools as well as tools that we purchase, as well as some tools we've created ourselves, because we're trying to make sure we cover all the gaps. Because one tool, for instance, with web application penetration testing, there's a tool called Burp Suite. It's pretty useful, but it is prone to false positives and it will miss things. So we use several tools to make sure we don't miss something. Then we have to spend a lot of time manually looking at the outputs of the tools and then manually closing the gaps as well with our own test cases.
Okay. So it's I think a very robust security measures you are taking. So is there any specific criteria or considerations that guide your decision-making process in integrating a new tech into your cybersecurity framework?
Yeah, I look at everything from a risk perspective, because cybersecurity is ultimately about reducing risk. Yeah. And in the industry, there's a big push to implement new tools, and a lot of vendors will promise the world that their tool will stop all the attacks. Yeah. But I think it's also important from a framework or procedural standpoint to look at a process that could be changed and to look at what kind of training your staff should have, because most attacks, 80% of them use some sort of phishing email to get into an environment. And a lot of people have not been trained on social engineering tactics, for instance. And then procedurally, we deal with a lot of defense contractors, U.S. defense contractors that have what's called controlled unclassified information. And what often happens, and this is sensitive data, is they have it all over their environment and they don't even know where it is. So then they have to protect everything and buy lots of tools to try to protect everything, and it's expensive. From a procedure standpoint, though, if they can reduce the systems that sensitive data is on, then it's easier to protect a few systems versus a few thousand. So the tools are important for sure, but I think there's some things that we often overlook, like the couple cases I just mentioned, that should be looked at just as importantly as a new tool set or new firewall or new intrusion detection system.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So for everything you have to, be a very critical and very timing management. So for each project, you are, identifying a new risk, and appropriate to the risk, you are identifying the technology and the solutions. So in this context of cybersecurity, like as you had said, you are working with so many US defense projects also, and many other big projects also. So sharing the information is also very crucial, right? Right. So are there any particular industry partnership or collaborations that your organization is currently engaged to enhance its technological capabilities?
We're a member of, it's called HIMSS. It's the Healthcare Information Management and Systems Society. Healthcare is one of our biggest industries we work with to protect patient data and the medical devices. So we are part of that society, so we can understand some of the challenges that healthcare is facing. And we're also going to be attending their annual conference this year as well. In addition to that, there's some other organizations we're a member of. Most of my team is certified as a CISSP, which is sponsored by the ISC Squared organization. So I go to quite a few ISC Squared organizations and speak to the members of their chapter.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, Christians, if you don't mind, can you just help me with that too? That how many people are then there in your team?
Right now, my team is approximately 12 people.
Here, 12 people. And how do you manage the recruitment? And, you are managing so many critical projects in terms of security, also in terms of technology also, right? So how do you manage the team for each and every technology, for each and every projects? And how do you balance this, training the people and identifying the which people will be, who will be right for these specific project? So what's your takeaway for these?
For projects, I make sure I have the right team member assigned to the project. And then when it comes to like running an organization like mine, there's a lot of things to balance, as you mentioned. There's sales, there's the infrastructure, there's the team, there's the quality, there's the technologies. So I try to delegate where I can. And then from a personnel standpoint, which is one of the most critical things with a company, is I look at cultural fit and people skills above tech skills. In my first company, I used to hire people purely based on the certifications they had and their tech skills. And later I realized that a lot of the problems I was having with that first company were because my staff, they were super smart rationally, but they didn't have the people skills. So they were talking over clients' heads and not collaborating well. So I wrote a book about that. That's my first book, The Smartest Person in the Room, is about how I solved that challenge in my company, the first company. And now I've got a lot of the same team members in this company. So it makes it a lot easier. And then I'm a big proponent of training my team as well. I know in cybersecurity, a lot of people don't want to train their staff because they fear if they train their staff or invest in their staff, they may go somewhere else. But I always have the perspective that if you don't train them, like what happens if they stay? They're not going to be very effective. So my team is highly certified, highly trained. And since we primarily focus on offensive security, a couple of the certifications that are good ones for my team is like the OSCP, the Offensive Security Certified Professional, and the OSWE, the Offensive Security Web Expert. So those are a couple of the ones we focus on also.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing this insight. So it's a, diverse skill set is crucial for a team success, but the main skill required is, to manage the team and to manage the, customer. That is the basic skill, that is a people skill. So that's a wonderful share. So looking ahead, can you provide a glimpse into next projects, or in which technology or methodologies do you envision the projects being implemented?
So we are heavily focused on medical device security, and on average, there's 14 medical devices connected to a patient in the hospital, and those have been inherently unsecure. So that's what we focus on, and we do a lot of work with the medical devices, and some of them are very unique. Like one of the projects we're working on right now is a medical device that can dehydrate human blood, so it turns it into a powder, and then it's more easy to transport a powder and store it, and then when it's needed, it just has to be rehydrated, basically. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. So we come across a lot of interesting projects because in the medical device field, there, people are creating novel and new things that are interesting, like this one. I never thought you could dehydrate blood and then reconstitute it later.
Actually, I had seen in your LinkedIn bio also that you are a blood clot survivor. So can you share something on that too? That and like you are stretching these discussions to medical devices also. So please share something about that too. That what happened to you and how you had survived.
Yeah, last year, well, 2 years ago, I guess it's February in 2022, I was having trouble walking up the stairs. I just worked out. I've done like 24 Ironman triathlons, so I'm generally pretty healthy. But my leg started hurting after, my left leg started hurting after I worked out, and it just kept getting worse. And a friend of mine told me I should go to the hospital, and I'm like, I'm not going. I didn't want to go to the hospital, but I went, and the doctor diagnosed me with 6 blood clots in my left leg. Yeah, and it was kind of, I was in Illinois at the time by myself, and I asked the doctor what it meant. He said it meant I could die or have a stroke at any second. So it's not like the news you want to hear at the hospital. But they ended up giving me blood thinners. So I took those for, I don't know, about 8 months, and then one day I just decided I'm not going to take the blood thinners anymore and go get my blood tested and do my own testing, because I don't like taking things like that for my whole life. And I've got my leg tested, like got the ultrasound on the whole leg, and I get my blood work done every couple of weeks now to make sure there's no clotting factors or anything, and I just sort of reclaim my health.
So you had, truly survived from the death, I can say. So it's a wonderful. So not for only for the risk of the, organizations or people security and everything, but you had survived from your own life risk. So that's, very high spirited things. So I'm sorry to know about these also, but you had survived. That is the biggest achievement of your life. So no, yes, yes. So, when I saw in your this trailer about the books also, so I think that events inspire you to write about your journey and everything, if I'm not wrong.
I think the blood clots forced me to reflect on things, because I couldn't travel, I couldn't walk hardly, I couldn't train, so I just had to kind of sit and reflect on my life, and I did a lot of the concepts of my last book. I think came about from that forced reflection. That meant it. They kind of like mandated like taking a pause on life, because I was kind of immobilized for quite a while.
Yes, yes, yes. So, so a few of the life's learnings are from life itself. So I believe in that. So when I see that, trailer or the kind of a short intro about your book, I, actually read how this is and what is your into. And so it gives me a glimpse of that. So thank you for sharing that. So coming back to the discussions. So we were actually discussing the next projects and, next technology which you are going to work. So in this realm of cybersecurity, managing the resources is also very important, right? So, when talking about the blue coat cyber securities, so how do you approximate or organize the budget allocations, especially in terms of different infrastructure, tools, technology, people, and how do you ensure that it is optimally utilized?
Um, so we try not to use any technology we don't need. And I look at everything from risk, like I mentioned. So anything we do use, there's a decision made to use it and how we're going to use it and how we're going to train our staff on it. I think one of the biggest challenges is a lot of organizations will implement technology, but not train somebody on how to administer that technology. And then that technology, even though it could be like something for defense, it ends up becoming a vulnerability to get into the environment because somebody may have misconfigured it. So I look at the complexity of the tools as well. So one of the things I have to look at is if we're going to scale, which I plan to scale my company quite a bit, I need to keep things simple. And we need to have not just the right number of tools, not too many, and keep it simple. And that's what I really look at doing is not inundating my team with too many tools, but I want to keep it simple and make sure they understand how to use the tools properly.
Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing the importance of, strategic resource management. So whatever is necessary, you are going to invest in, and what is not, then you are not investing. So that's a right approach, I think so. So, Christians, as a visionary in the cybersecurity space, so how do you see the future of cybersecurity is shaping up? So are there any emerging trends or technologies that you are, keeping your eyes open for a specific trend?
Yeah, I think the biggest impact on cybersecurity, it's an impact on a lot of things, is artificial intelligence. And, and a lot of people think, okay, we're going to use artificial intelligence to stop the cyber attacks. But what you have to consider is the cyber criminals are also using AI. So it's almost becoming like a battle of AI versus AI and whose AI is better to break into, an environment. And also where I live right now is kind of interesting because we have autonomous vehicles here. They're called Waymos. So I can take a car without a driver, like just like an Uber anywhere around the Phoenix area where I'm currently living. And, I often wonder, like, what kind of vulnerabilities that car has. And it says on their website that they've been cybersecurity protected. But as we continue to evolve with more technology like driverless cars, driverless aircraft without a pilot, I think we're going to see cybersecurity play a bigger role because now, kind of like the medical devices, if something happens to that car, it can actually kill somebody versus, just stealing somebody's credit cards.
Correct. So it's a totally forward-looking perspective, and it's a really invaluable. So the cybersecurity is going to, ahead of the curve, and it's beyond the limits. So that's a wonderful take and wonderful share. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we are going to wrap up these discussions, and especially with this incredible host, guest, Christina, I would like to, ask him one thing. And Christina, if you are, open to share something of nuggets of your wisdom or a thought that would motivate us or encourage our audience to delve deeper in this tech trend. So, can you share some words for our audience too?
Yeah, I think in my latest book, I talk a lot about intentions and setting the right intention to be in the moment. I think we often get so focused on the next big goal that we overlook what's right in front of us. And what's right in front of us may inform us that that goal is really not the goal we want to go after. And it can also be more fulfilling if we pay attention to what's right in front of us. So I encourage people to read my latest book, The In-Between, but ultimately, I guess the biggest takeaway is the only meaning to life is the meaning we assign to it. So any experience we had that could have been perceived as negative, we can choose to assign a new meaning to it and assign a meaning to it that serves us and help us move forward in our life.
That's wonderful. That's a wonderful share you had, given us. So thank you so much for being with us, and thank you so much for this, wisdom words. So definitely it's, not for only me, but for the whole audience, it's going to, leave a lasting impact. So as we bring these insightful conversations to a close, I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to you and for sharing your wealth and knowledge of experience in the cybersecurity landscape. And you are really having a great, knowledge and insights for the current trends as well as the future of cybersecurity also. So thank you so much being with us, and thank you so much, Christian, for this wisdom, for this trends, and the words you had share with us. So, dear audience, one more thing. So, if you want to know more about Christians and what he is doing, they just directly go to his LinkedIn page, and from there you can explore the groundbreaking work at Blue Goat Cyber as well as of his own venture and what he is doing, and follow him with the cybersecurity chronicles on the different areas of expertise. So thank you, Christians, and for being an invaluable guest on our Adfar Tech Venture podcast. And we really look forward to witness your continued success and innovations in the dynamic world. So thank you so much. And audience, thank you so much for listening this episode at Adfar Tech Venture podcast. And if you want to know something more about him, directly follow that. And if you want to learn about other trends and technology in this IT field, just follow the Adfar Tech Venture podcast. And till the next episode, stay informed and stay secure. Thank you so much.